you have worn a lot of hats. One hat that you've also worn is a professional photographer. What for you? Which has been harder to master, or being a pro football player or being a professional photographer?
Well, I think the gift that God gave me, and it's kind of interesting. I think it was football,
Mm-hmm.
sports, but I think it was football. My dad loved football. My dad was crippled, as I mentioned earlier. He had his femur broken when he was 13. And it was his leg was about an inch and a half, 2 inches shorter than the other, and Dr. Knight, our team doctor, ultimately had to operate on my dad and chisel out about half his femur because it was infected. Anyway, my dad was an avid fan. He started dragging me to football games at the age of 8.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't know what they were, I had no clue what they were doing out there. I just loved to watch the band march
Mm-hmm.
and the drum majors. And I thought, my third grade year and my fourth grade year, I thought, I want to be a drum major. I like that big hat and big baton, and they pop, they're
Right?
stepping
Yeah.
down the field, and that was, to me, that was very interesting. But I had no idea. So, but by the seventh grade, I already started spring of sixth grade. Started junior, it was pre-junior high, but we organized football with coaches, and we had these leather helmets. And first week I was out there, they were showing me how to use a forearm, and my coach hit me in the nose and broke my nose. I was lying on my back, tears coming out of my eyes, and blood coming out of my nose. I'm thinking,
wow.
I don't know if I like this game or not.
Drum major may be better, right?
But anyway, but I think, because here's what happened. Dad only lived to be 60. He was just about 2 weeks short of 60. He went to every game I ever played in high school, and I was getting better. I was good in basketball, but I was getting better and better every year at football. And so, we had to move to Oregon because of the drought and because of the cheap oil coming in from the Mideast. And we were custom farmers, and Dad had caterpillars that we dozed mesquite trees, and we also built the little roads out to the drilling site when they were going to drill. And that was the last thing we had. The drought had pretty well wiped out our farming part to do the custom farming. So when the cheap oil came, that was it. So we called all of our kinfolks all over the country, all over Texas. They found Dad a job. One of my mother's uncles and her first cousin found Dad a job near Pendleton, Oregon.
Okay.
So that's how we went to Pendleton. Well, he went up there, and we got all the way to the semifinals. And boy, he went to every game. And then we came back to TCU, and he went to every game that he could. In other words, if it was maybe in Ohio or somewhere, we didn't, or Pittsburgh. But he went to LSU. And anyway, he went to all my college games. Then I came to pro football. Well, Dad was able to go through 1970 to all my games at home. And then he passed away that year in February, right after we went to our first right before we went to our first Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've always felt that was a blessing because I was totally close to my dad. We fished together. We hunted quail together. We were just good friends. We remained that way. And I used to stop. And he had a mail route, and when I was coming back from somewhere, I knew where he would stop and get coffee. I would wait on him, and if I might have missed him sometimes, but most of the time I was a little bit early, and I'd have a coffee with Dad. And I used to go out all the time with Dad. I'd go home and visit, and I really loved my father and my mother and my grandparents, and so I've always thought, Dad loved football so much, and my little brother got to go to TCU and play football, and my dad got to go watch Larry play, and then but it seems like God worked that out, where even though his life was, he hobbled around,
sure,
and he hurt a lot, but his one joy was scouting for the coaches, and he never finished high school. He didn't have an opportunity. He had to go to work.
Sure.
I think he went to work at 11.
Yeah.
And anyway, I just always felt blessed that I was able to get Dad tickets and that he was able to do those things that he wanted to do. And I mean, it's hard to understand that if you grew up in Throckmorton. We never even had TV till we were till 1959.
Yeah.
And 1958, I guess it was.
We're in a different time in America. My grandfather had a third grade education, you know, and you have a generation now that is, they don't even know what the world is without the internet and without a smartphone. Then you have a generation who grew up without running water, and both my parents grew up in the country at some points in their life without running water, but it's a blessed life, and it's an interesting life. You know, we were talking earlier before we began about the Ice Bowl. You know, what is the one thing, I know that that's been covered ad nauseum. People have asked probably 1,000 questions about the Ice Bowl. Is there something that you've ever not talked about with the Ice Bowl? Is there something that just sticks out to you about the Ice Bowl that you just still shake your head at? You just can't believe which you did. Yeah, after the invention of the new shot put with the 50-yard helmet toss.
40 something
something yards.
Tell me 42 or 44. I don't know.